Yo, welcome everybody to the first episode of P. Hughes In-Car Spoiler Reviews. And today, y'all, we are talking about a little movie. I don't know if you probably heard about it. It's so small and minuscule. Probably heard about it. It's called Spider-Man Brand New Day. Okay, excuse the excitement. It's early in the morning. I got my coffee, my ice matcha and everything like that. I'm on my way to court. But look, I just want to talk to you guys about this movie because, first off, this movie's just amazing. No pun intended, right? Shout out to all the people that actually wanted me to do these videos. I know it's been super late since I've done one, but I figured that aside from me doing my comic book reviews, I can now start to give you guys spoiler reviews, like most of these car rides I take to work at times, just so that we can go through a lot of the things that I saw in most of the movies that we all were interested in, and just my take with the pros, the cons, and things that we may even be able to look forward to moving forward in the future. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. Make sure that my mic is all good. Okay, I think I'm good. So for starters, man, just like for my review rating wise, I gave this movie personally a 9 out of 10. And if I can give it anything out of 5 stars, I probably give it 4 stars out of 5. Now, is this movie perfect? No, but I have to say, everybody knows, if you talk to me, I've had so many gripes like with the Homecoming trilogy, and if people aren't familiar with it, that consists of 2017 Spider-Man Homecoming, I believe 2019 Spider-Man's Far From Home, and then lastly we had Spider-Man No Way Home, which a lot of people became more and more familiar with, which starred the 3 multiversal versions of Peter Parker, right? Now here's the thing. Before we get into Spider-Man Brand New Day, I just want to get anybody caught up to it that hasn't seen this movie as of yet, right? For instance, Spider-Man Homecoming, of course, you already know the villain was the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton. And mind you, like, we end up finding out that he's the father of a love interest that Peter Parker wanted to pursue. He's taken down in that movie, but they also sprinkle a few other villains like Shocker and things like that in the first movie, which I thought was really cool. Second movie, we got Mysterio, which we've never seen on screen before, right? And it did appear that he did actually die at the end of Far From Home, right? So Mysterio, come on, man. Anybody knows Mysterio, he's always playing them games, so I personally don't think he's dead. Now, here's an interesting thing about the third movie. A lot of people don't know, and don't get me wrong, I give director John Watts a lot of backlash most of the time, but he actually wanted to have Kraven as the villain in Spider-Man 3, aka Spider-Man No Way Home. But we already know how Sony is. Sony's gonna Sony, and we got that terrible Kraven the Hunter movie, which I'm sure barely a certain amount of people probably saw. Aaron Taylor Johnson looked perfect in that role. I know they had characters in that movie like Chameleon and things, but I'm like, man, it would have been so cool instead of having, this whole, I guess, multiversal or Doctor Strange mind wiping all this other stuff, where you could have just kind of played in with like Chameleon kind of posing as Spider-Man, and somehow finding out that he was posing as Peter Parker the whole time to frame him. But either way, the way that they set up things in No Way Home leads us directly into Brand New Day. And in Brand New Day, I have to say, guys, this is the most Spider-Man movie that I've ever seen, excuse me. And people say, like, what you mean like Spider-Man? Like, all the movies had Spider-Man. This movie featured the most Spider-Man out of this trilogy or past trilogy or franchise in the MCU. This is the most action that I've ever seen with Spider-Man. I love the mature route that they took the character, man. Tom Holland, even me and my girl discussed after watching this movie the first time, like, yo, Tom Holland has definitely leveled up from that boy charismatic charm that he had in the Homecoming franchise. Here, he actually feels like a man. He's into his own mold. He's isolated. He's depressed. All those secret ingredients that a lot of people who love Spider-Man and love his lore like to see part of Peter Parker in. Most of the time when we see Peter Parker in those kind of situations, we know that we're getting like a good story cooking, or some of the worst things that happen to him actually bring out the best in him, right? So let me just go ahead and get into the pros. Like, In this movie, man, I love the tone in this movie. I love the acting. The suit looked amazing. The suit looked amazing, y'all. Like, I remember seeing that first set photo, and I'll probably try to put in like clips in this video footage, so you'll probably see it. I remember the first time that I saw that photo from that set photo when they were filming that opening chase sequence between Spider-Man and the battle tank in New York and things like that. That suit looked so practical and so real that it was just so good to see. Like, it's something to see things in animated CGI, right? But another thing to actually see things in practical effects. I'm a big practical effect guy. If I watch body horror or things like that, like movies like The Fly, Alien, The Thing, I love to see people actually put time into making things look realistic because they feel more relatable. Now, mind you, this probably wasn't the best suit that Peter Parker has worn technology-wise, but that's okay because that's what it's supposed to look like. You know, Peter Parker isn't supposed to have, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's very smart. He should have like all these gadgets and things like that. But it's good to see like those defects in that suit. Like when he's swinging and stuff like that, you see it like baggy, like it's flowing from off of his body somewhat. You know, you could tell that this suit was actually made by somebody. And that's the whole feeling that I think that we can all relate to when it comes to Spider-Man. We can all envision ourselves as guys, girls, whatever the case you want to think of, as Spider-Man, with using our own talents to make things and do things in that fashion. So shout out to the team for making the suit. I'm sure if you guys even look in this suit also, you'll see in certain scenes that you can actually see Tom Holland's eyes. Now, I didn't know this. I've been watching a few videos lately with them dissecting the movie and things like that. Apparently, his eyes that you're able to see through the big giant Spider-Man eyes in the costume, it was supposed to have been edited out in post-production. So those eyes were just supposed to have been like white, like how you usually see them all the time, like Deadpool and things like that, like moving and being animated, which I also love because you can actually tell Spidey's emotions when he's, you know, scared, when he's shocked, or when he's angry and things like that. I'm glad they kept that effect in the suit too, by the way. But that actually wasn't supposed to happen, but it actually worked because you're actually able to see him emoting and things like that. Like when you see him going against the Hulk, which I get into a little bit later, you can see it in his eyes that he's scared. You know what I'm saying? Like even in the beginning when he's looking at the secret antagonist of this movie possessing over different people's bodies and things like that, you can see that surprising in his eyes. So it's just that physical, or physicality I should say, that you're able to see from him in his acting, which kind of like makes this movie excel compared to some of the other ones. I love the fact that they build upon some of his, how should I say it, his lore of villains, right? You saw Scorpion in this movie. We got Tombstone, Boomerang, and all these other guys that I personally never heard of. Like when I first heard that Boomerang was going to be in Spider-Man brand, I'm like, who the heck is Boomerang? What are you talking about? Isn't he in Suicide Squad? But I think it was good just to show in the opening sequence like what he's been doing within the past 4 years, right? I didn't even know that this movie apparently takes place in 2028, because when Peter goes to the gravesite to visit Aunt May, on her grave it says that she passed in 2024. So I'm like, wow, the MCU has been doing this thing lately where they've been pushing out these movies further into the future so that we aren't just interacting in present day. Now, mind you, a lot of people are like, who is Tombstone? Like, for instance, Tombstone is I don't know all of his background history, but I do know that Tombstone is part of the underground mob bosses that Peter does fight in the comics. You have characters like Tombstone, Hammerhead, and a few other mob level villains, or even like Mr. Negative and things like that, that are known to be like in this, you know, underground, you know, gang war crime, you know, family and things of that nature. And I'll get back into that also when I pick back up on that. So it was good to see characters like that sprinkled in this movie. And to be honest, none of these characters or villains died in this movie. Let me say that again. None of these characters died in this movie. I hate it when Marvel movies introduce some of the most amazing characters and yet they kill them off and you can't do anything else with them. Mysterio may upset like a lot of people, but again, he's Mysterio, he's the master of illusion, so I personally don't think that dude is dead, right? we could always see him come back in a further movie, which I'll get into too at the end of this video. Again, like the action was insane, man. Like some of the web swinging and things like that. I believe the director Dustin Daniel Cretton actually picked up from Spider-Man the PS5 game or PS4 game. If anybody's ever played that, your kids ever played it, you can see some of the similarities with some of the web slinging sequences. And I do have to say, after seeing this movie, I still think that Andrew Garfield has the most, prolific web swinging sequences in a Marvel movie, period. However, this movie comes really close to topping that off, man. Like, Tobey Maguire is always going to be goated because that's the first thing I remember seeing in the theaters with my family, like him swinging between the Twin Towers and things of that nature, like in the commercials and stuff. But this movie here just builds upon all of that, man, and it makes it fun. You can see it from first person point of view, what he's doing when he's swinging. You can see it from third person point of view. You can see the emotion. Again, here we go back to the eyes, man. You can see the emotion in his eyes, like when he's swinging around and things like that, when he's doing that deep dive off of the skyscraper and things of that nature. I thought was really dope. And I think that was a cool concept that they came up with too. Like sometimes within the movie, seeing that he's going through these changes, but you can see the emoting like through his eyes that they put inside of the mask, right? So I thought that was really cool. You see, the acting, of course, is great. I already mentioned that. The story, even though this movie was probably like 2 hours, I think, and maybe like 20 minutes or so, this movie really didn't feel long. There's only one area where it kind of like started like slugging off a little bit, but I think that it kind of like picked back up like towards the end. And I mean, that's like in the third act for me personally. But the entire time, this movie did a good job of keeping me invested. Not even just like with the villain, it's so to say, like within this movie, but also within some of the characters that you were so invested in, like having MJ and Ned and all these other people return back. You were really invested in how these relationships was going to evolve. Even the relationship with him and the Punisher, man, like that's a pretty big giant thing, man. Like that relationship was really fun. I think that they built up from off of a lot of people teasing John Bernthal from always growling or whatever, like this. Yeah. It's like this manly thing that he does with the Punisher. Sometimes I'm like, dude, why is he always growling? Like he alright, like. But they kind of like make fun of it. He even does it himself, like at the end of the movie, like when he's behind the window and they set up that whole thing, like that was hilarious, man. It's a lot of funny scenes with him and Peter in this movie. The Hulk itself, like that whole sequence of getting the actual Hulk back. Let's just give it up for them finally bringing the Hulk back. Like everybody was mad about the Hulk and the way that he was portrayed in Infinity War and Endgame and then She-Hulk. Oh my God, She-Hulk. Lord, geez, what we doing? And things of that nature. So which is good to finally see like that thing that we all know, that we all grew up with, the Hulk actually being the Hulk. You know what I mean? And it's so many different ways that they can take that too. Now, let's see. I think I might have had like some more pros. I even had like my notebook. I like, man, this dude is a nerd for real. Let me see. All right. Let me see. I think I done hit up like every single thing. This is another thing that I mentioned. I forgot to mention. Peter Parker actually having like a New York accent. In the first movie, or even in Civil War, this kid like had like an accent and everything, but then all of a sudden it just kind of like disappeared. It was kind of like Halle Berry when she was in X-Men, and then in X-Men 2, all of a sudden the African accent just went away. So in here, it kind of feels more relatable, I think, to some of the people that are New Yorkers and things of that nature. And I mean, for me, like, of course, the accent will never be grade A for people that really do live in New York and things. But for him to be in Queens and so much of that nature, like, it's just good to like really get like that separate feel. And I think that that's even something that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man did not have. Andrew Garfield did have that accent. But you know, here with Tom Holland, it's good to see that they brought that back, because I think it's always good to embrace different influences that most of these characters have, like within their culture, then where they brought up at, to make the characters more relatable for people that's from that era and from that environment. Now here's the thing, I'm gonna get into some of the cons, right? In this movie, and I think this is like the fun part for me, because it's always fun to talk about all the fun stuff that everybody like, but nobody wants to be the bad guy to talk about things that, you know, kind of like tick them off. Now there's a reason why I didn't give this movie a 10 out of 10. Gave it a 9. It could have been a 9.5, and then it definitely could have been a 10. So those 2 points that was taken off incredibly. Now, it's not going to be 2 flaws, but 2 of the most major things was I feel like they set up a lot of these villains, like in this movie, to be introduced, like Mike Lando. What's his name? Is his name Mike Lando? I think his last name's Lando. The guy that plays Scorpion, right? They set up this character in Spider-Man Homecoming, right? This has been, I guess, what? Maybe that movie came out in, what, 2017? It's been 7 years since we've seen this villain, right? He gave like a big tease at the end. Oh, I want to cut off Spider-Man's head if I find out who he is, and put his head like in a dryer and tumble it around. And I'm like, dang, like, let me go ahead and see what it's going to look like. Come on, let's go. But he only fights him, he only has screen time of maybe what? I don't know, maybe like at least like a minute, like 2, nah, not even a minute. I'm not going to be funny like that. Maybe at least 4 or 5 minutes for a movie I think that could have featured him a little bit more heavier. The Jean Grey reveal, and I think this is a topic that a lot of people have been discussing. Everybody already knew that Sadie Sink 1 was like a redhead. At first, it was rumored a long time ago that, oh, she might be playing Peter Parker's daughter, like from another universe. I'm like, oh, okay, spoilers. Like, I hate spoilers personally, mind you. So I'm like, well, I guess it wouldn't be hard to believe. We've been doing the whole multiversal, thing lately, so it's not hard to believe that. She might be Tobey Maguire's daughter from a different universe, et cetera, whatever. Then it comes out, oh no, she might be playing like Mary Jane Watson. These are just like rumors that people just spitball. I'm like, okay, I mean, maybe she's like a Mary Jane Watson from like another universe or something, or maybe, you know, MJ ain't, I don't know, maybe MJ ain't really MJ, Zendaya ain't really that, and she might be Gwen Stacy on the low and just been lying about it. Like, my mind was going to so many places. So when it's finally revealed, oh yeah, I think she's playing Jean Grey, I'm like, I'm locked in with that. She looks like Jean Grey. She's got the red hair. I know they're going towards the mutant era and the mutant saga next within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so I definitely feel like she's going to be Jean Grey. Everybody believed it, right? So when the big reveal comes up in the movie, it's like, well, dang, we already knew who Shorty was, man. Like, they've been talking the whole time about how there's a villain that can get into people's minds. They're showing like people's like minds being possessed and things like that, and it's just like, I feel like if they would have been able to keep that a secret, I feel like I would have gave this movie like a stronger rating to not know that she was already in this movie. Gone are the days where social media or all these fans and fanatics don't get details on most of these movies before we see them, and we're left in a limbo. Everybody knows something. Everything's posted on the Twitter. Everybody's giving out spoilers, which is why for Doomsday, I'm trying to stay my behind off the internet. I want to go into that movie as clean as I can be, right? Now, that's not to say that she didn't do a great job playing that character. Like, I think she did a really good job for Jean Grey, and Jean Grey's personally not a huge character that I'm like heavily invested in, like when it comes to the X-Men. But I believe like from what that they was able to do with their character in this movie, to kind of give her like a little bit of extra oomph, was like, okay, I've never seen her kind of be the antagonist, quote unquote, before, like in any movie besides, I guess, the Phoenix saga. But we know at that point that she's supposed to be the villain. But whatever. So they do set up a lot of seeds with that. Of course, she loses her sister, things like that. Really good story arc. I'm cool with all that. But I feel like in the third act, this movie kind of goes from being a Spider-Man movie to kind of being a Jean Grey origin story. And I'm like, it works because you have to like fully flesh out her character. But I'm like, dang, man, this could have been more time than we could have had with Scorpion, right? Or we could have actually tackled that storyline where James Jonah Jameson, who's not in the movie, why they didn't have J.K. Simmons come back as J. Jonah Jameson, Parker, all that kind of stuff. Why they didn't have him come back, I have no idea. Like, I needed some of that in this movie, man. It would have even been good to see Peter working for the Daily Bugle. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a world of where anybody can upload photos with AI and things like that, we could have seen this young man take up a new talent, like photography, to make a living, because that's another thing. A lot of people had a lot of complaints like, hey man, look, Peter paying for this apartment, where is he getting all this money from? Does he have like an OnlyFans? Like what is Spider-Man like doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is he doing to make this money and this currency to do that? So it would even be good, like, yo, he's working fast food, he's working as an intern, he's I don't know, doing something related to the skill sets that he has, or skill sets that we've never like really seen from his character before. And I think that it would have been good to utilize the Daily Bugle as a way to show that, hey, he's so independent now, he's so on his own, that he has to take up things that may not work well in his favor for who Spider-Man is. It would have been funny to see him actually doing that, to say, hey, I know that this guy doesn't like me or whatever. I know that he hates Spider-Man. I know I'm even giving him pictures of Spider-Man that's going to be integrated into negative viewpoints, but hey, it's not my duty to try to change his opinion. I have to make a living, so it is what it is, you know? I think that there could have been certain characters also that could have been introduced in this movie. I personally was looking for a Gwen Stacy or a Harry Osborn introduction in this movie to kind of flesh out this universe a little bit better, right? And we didn't really get that. There was one scene where there was this blonde chick that Peter sees in the new apartment building that he's living in. And a lot of people are like, man, I think that's Gwen Stacy. That's the first thing that went through my mind. And then it's just like, okay, well, she's got a man later on. It might not be Gwen Stacy. Like, I think even in the end credits, it's not titled as Gwen, but it would have been good to start sprinkling those other characters into Peter's life to take on this new chapter and this new trilogy that he's experiencing. We didn't get those characters in the first trilogy, but I know in the comics from what I've heard and I've read about that Peter actually meets Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy when he's in college. And it would have been good to see that in this next era in his adulthood of him meeting these characters to get his mind off of those other characters that he lost in the Homeway franchise. He lost MJ and Michelle Jones. He lost MJ, he lost Ned and things of that nature. So a lot of people were happy to see that in the theater. Like when you saw them like come into scenes or Peter bumped into him, you heard like cheers or like claps, like yeah, like Ned, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. But it really would have benefited us if we was able to see newer characters being introduced and a new love interest. Another thing, let me see. Scorpion didn't have enough time in this movie, y'all. Like I said, like he only had like maybe 5 minutes. I was totally blown about that. Most of his villains that were in this movie felt a little shafted, man. Like to make way for this whole Jean Grey story, that quick introduction that they had with like Hammerhead and with Tombstone and all those other villains was cool, but it would have been even better to utilize this movie to be like an actual gang war style movie. Or instead of using Jean Grey, you could have used a character like Mr. Negative, right? I can't really get too much information on Mr. Negative right now. I played the game. I wasn't really that much big of a fan until I played the video game and I saw him starting it, but I feel like him and Jean Grey had some similarities in regards to bringing out the yin and yang of people, if I'm correct, or the darkest of people at times. And you could have used some of those mind-altering things like from his point of view, because he's a street level villain. He's more than likely like a mob, like a mob boss or whatever with his own henchmen. You could have still integrated this movie being like a gang war style movie with Hammerhead, Tombstone, Mr. Negative going against each other. Now you got Scorpion, who's also introduced into the picture with James Jonah Jameson to take down Spider-Man because of his personal vendetta against Spider-Man. It would have been cool to see something like that, fully flesh out Matt Gargan's Scorpion character, and had like a lot more action sequences because his suit looked amazing. Like those action sequences that we got where he was utilizing his tail to like whip Spider-Man's behind, and like how much muscle that he was able to put into the suit to like really jack him up. It's like, I loved all of that, but I just would have loved to see more of it. That's just me personally. And the last thing, this whole movie like also goes to and this is also a pro too. Peter Parker got the web, like the organic webs that we saw with Tobey Maguire and things of that nature. But in this movie, he's actually going through a change. And there's some scenes in the trailer that people might have seen or in the movie when you guys saw that his eyes was turning black. He's going through a change that could make him at some point turn into Man-Spider. Now, a lot of people know in the original 1990 series, Spider-Man the Animated Series, Peter Parker became Man-Spider, where he grew like the 6 arms or whatever all together, and he started mutating more and more and more and more until it became like this spider-like humanoid creature. And I just think that would have been good. Like I don't know why they didn't take that route with the character. If maybe like him trying to find like an antidote, like how hard that would have been. Maybe we would have had to introduce more characters to help him out with that. Maybe the Punisher could have been somebody to get the serum to kind of like shoot him with it or something like it could have been something like that. But apparently Tom Holland said that they actually filmed the Man Spider nightmare sequence where Peter turns into Man Spider, but they felt that it was a little too scary for the kids, right? Let me be the first to say, bump them kids, man. Bump them kids. These kids are playing Call of Duty. These kids are watching God knows what. These kids is watching Big Mouth. These kids is watching all these Adult Swim shows and things of that nature. I'm sure a Man Spider, which is fake, they would have been able to watch on the big screen at theaters. But hey, I know you gotta get that box office revenue, but it would have been cool to see that. I'm just saying, it would have been good to see that. Now I got the pros and cons out the way. We've already got like what we got, right? So a lot of people are thinking about the future. In this movie, at the end credit scene, I'm sitting there, I got my popcorn, I'm waiting, I'm like, oh man, we about to get 2 end credit scenes, I can't wait, they're gonna introduce Venom, they're gonna do this. No, they show on this spider tracker that was introduced in the movie that apparently there is, and me and my boy, we laughed about this afterwards, how on earth is Ned's spider tracker able to pick up a Spider-Man from all the way out in outer space? I don't know if they're trying to say that this is like a multiverse of Spider-Man that's being introduced. I don't know if they're trying to say that this is a Spider-Man that's coming into space. I don't know what they're trying to say. Some people are like, oh man, well, you know, the Fantastic Four are on their way back to Earth, and you know they're going to be introducing Doomsday, so maybe Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is on the same ship with the Fantastic Four. So the Fantastic Four is just like universe hopping and just grabbing up like other characters. Like I don't know. Like Tobey Maguire left Kristen Dunst and Aunt May and all them to get on the ship with them to come in. Like I don't think the math is math for y'all. Some people say, well, if you look at the lights, it was like a blank, like a colorful blank, and it might be Miles Morales. And I'm not knocking that. I'm saying that's a pretty good idea. Now everybody knows, like within the Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse coming soon, the 2027 franchise. There's always like those color schemes and things like that whenever we transition into the multiverse and things of that nature. A lot of people are saying that there's a similar color scheme when we see the end and then we see a Spider-Man's picking up somewhere further out in outer space. Now here's the thing. It would be dope, right? If in Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, right, Miles Morales ends that whole franchise making his way into the real world, and that's our way of getting the real live action Miles Morales in the MCU. But sure, that's not gonna happen. One, because in Spider-Man Homecoming we had Donald Glover who played the Prowler, right? A lot of people don't know that. There's a scene with Spider-Man and Donald Glover, like when Spider-Man's trying to interrogate him about like the arms dealing and things like that. And he mentions, hey, I want to get these kind of things like off the streets or whatever, or something like that. I have a little cousin Miles. I have a nephew Miles that lives here, whatever. So that was a tease that was setting up Miles. So he already exists in his universe, but we just haven't met him yet. We don't know how old he was or anything of that nature. So that seed is already there. Now, that's like further down the road, right? We've already had Tom Holland in an interview saying, hey, you know, I really like to, you know, pass the mantle of Spider-Man down to Miles Morales and this and that. Stop, bro. I want to see Miles Morales too. But we are just finally getting the Spider-Man that we all know and are familiar with. Like, why should we cut his journey short to introduce a character that I know that everybody loves, right? But at the same time, there's so much more storytelling to go. You know what I mean? Like we've seen a multiversal version of Green Goblin, Dr. Otto Octavius, Sandman, the Lizard, and things of that nature. But we haven't seen the 616 universe, the MCU's universe with Captain America, Thor, and all the people existing with their own version of, this dude was running right across you while I was turning. Threw me off. his own actual version of these characters. So like, why don't we have that? You know, I want to see those characters being introduced. And I mean, to know that Tom Holland has 2 more movies of this trilogy that he signed up for, I'm kind of feeling like I want them to go the Harry Potter route. You can make at least like 9 different movies. You can make 3 different trilogies. This trilogy, the last trilogy that we just had, and the next trilogy, maybe Peter Parker's like finally an adult, he has like a child and things like that. Or even you could do like a 2-parter movie, like as his swan song send-off, just kind of like how they did Logan without, you know, of course, him dying. But just like continue to do like more world building. And by doing that, I think the next movie should feature the symbiote that everybody's been asking for. Everybody already knows in Secret Wars, in the original comic, Peter Parker goes to Battle World. He gets the black goo costume. He likes it at first. He takes it back down to Earth, realizes that this thing is not what I thought, and it's taking over my mind. So let's delve into that story arc. There's so many things that's been testing his nerves, his patience. You had his Aunt May dying. You had his friends that he can no longer really be in contact with, which kind of did make up at the end with him and Ned doing the handshake. And I'll hint at that too next. Remind me, y'all. And things of that nature. So it's like there's so many different things I think that he's been personally battling that the symbiote can feed from off of, and we could take him into darker territory. We saw a glimpse of that when he fought Scorpion. When he took Scorpion and slung him by the tail into the police cruiser, I was like, holy crap. Like, it's about to get real, man. My man real live, like, injured a police officer doing it now, not just because I'm a police officer. Yeah, wah. But at the same time, it just goes to show that, hey, his morale is starting to be broken. Whatever kind of natural or animalistic nature that he has, like with the spider bite, whatever, it's kind of taking over. So that does give us an idea of what we could get, like with the proper symbiote story arc. Now, for antagonists, like I mentioned before, I think that we should have that whole Gang Wars era with Tombstone versus Hammerhead. You can introduce characters like Black Cat that everybody knew, Felicia Hardy, who's actually similar like to Catwoman and things like that, like a Catbird, but she has like powers, I think, that gives other characters like bad luck or something like that or whatever. It's a long story, but she could definitely be like an easier love interest for him to have. We already saw that Michelle Jones denied loving him and said that, hey, I don't love you anymore. When I saw that scene, I think every dude could relate to that. Like, dang, it's over. For right now, at least. Because she was holding on that necklace at the end of the movie smiling. Like, she kind of was, oh, hey, you know, I can kind of give this guy a chance. You know, he's Spider-Man. You know, he's a little bit better than the guy I was with that, you know, we only saw one time in that party scene in the apartment. I might give him a chance, you know. I am married to this guy in real life, but of course in movies I can't act like that. So, you know, who knows? I'm sure they're going to get back together like by the 3rd movie of this, or the 6th movie I should say, of this franchise. But introduce more love interest for him. Like to see something like that. It might be a little too over stuff that they want to introduce Gwen Stacy. They may not go that route, but I wouldn't be mad if they did. And by the time you get to the 6th movie, you can end it like with him finally getting, you know, Michelle Jones back, just to top all those loose ends that we needed, right? But again, I think we should have a Hammerhead versus Tombstone, Gang Wars era, had Spider-Man like in that black suit kicking all kinds of butt. Introduce characters like the Rhino, man. Where's the Rhino? Jean Grey could have utilized the Rhino, man, for that Hulk scene. Even though I love the Hulk, the fact that we got the Hulk back, we needed to do that. I still feel like you could have used her, like using her mind possession over characters that were locked up in there, inside of that facility that they were talking about. And Damage Control, who are really the main villains of the movie, I should say. You see that they say in one part, there's so many bad guys I put in there and stuff like. There's a lot of bad people that I put in there. We could have seen some of those bad people. I wouldn't mind seeing like Shock in there locked up and her taking over his mindset and having him do whatever. I wouldn't mind seeing that happen with the Rhino and all these other characters that, you know, Damage Control have been nesting there in their facility. But I mean, that's all good. So introduce more characters like that we haven't seen before. Bring back some of the characters like from the old trilogy so that we can start setting up the Sinister Six. I'm a big Sinister Six fan. I think that we should definitely do the Sinister Six in the 6th movie. Yes, all puns intended. Do it like that. It's guaranteed to make like over $1 bajillion, man. This movie, let me say like right now, this movie right now has grossed over I think it's on par to gross over $2.7 billion. Now, if you can't think about the mathematical pros to that, movies like Avatar were dominating, making like 2.4 billion or 2.8 billion, like all kinds of stuff. Like, this movie is on brink of probably beating the Avengers movies, man. Like, there's a new audience there that's hungry for these Spider-Man movies. So keep giving them like action sequences, characters that they want to see, man. I'm just saying. We could definitely see Venom being introduced in the next movie. I know at the end of No Way Home, you had the cameo with Tom Hardy at the end of that movie. At that time, I believe Sony was trying to do a Spider-Man versus Venom like crossover movie, but for some reason it didn't get off the ground properly because of the fact that, whoa, these people are like trying to cut each other off in front of me. Lost track again, y'all, I'm sorry. But at the same time, we saw Tom Hardy being introduced in the previous movie at the end credit sequence. They decided not to go along with those plans to get that Venom versus Spider-Man movie off the ground because why? The Venom franchise just started going like the crap. As much as like some people love that franchise, I was not a fan of seeing Venom at a rave party with the mic in his mouth, like with a mic over his mouth, like with beads like over his chest and like singing on the mic. I'm like, come on, this isn't Venom, man. Come on, what are we doing, Sony? But I would like to see like a proper Eddie Brock storyline. I know it's only one movie. It'll probably be like a repeat or rehash of the third movie, which is why they made him doing something different. Some people say that they might even go the route of Scorpion, Matt Gargan becoming Venom, which has happened in the comics before. I wouldn't really be against that, but I mean, I'm a big classic fan of all the things that they do like in the classic comics. I just want like Eddie Brock to be Venom, man. Eddie Brock has always been Venom to me. I think that they should introduce him in that movie. Introduce characters like Daredevil. In this movie, a lot of people thought that we was gonna see Daredevil. But at the same time, in Daredevil Born Again Season 2, we see that he's placed in prison. He's not placed in damage control. I think he's actually placed in like jail. So it would have been cool like to see a sequence like that with him and Spider-Man like fighting the ninja group, the Hand and things like that, but it didn't happen. So you can definitely introduce him like in the next movie as a way of balancing out, go ahead, sweetie, as a way of him battling out the whole, you know, forgiving yourself for your sins, like the whole black suit era and things of that nature. You could integrate so many different things from off of that. Have him be like a mentor to Peter, like trying to say like, hey, this isn't you, man. You don't have to do this. I've been down this road before. You know what I'm saying? I've came close to like really killing people, like all to getting revenge and stuff. This revenge is going to take over your mind, you know? But of course the black suit kind of takes over your mind. So yeah, introduce stuff like that. Ned, you know, probably becoming a Hobgoblin. I think at some point, like a lot of people have been saying that there's a chance that he could end up becoming a Hobgoblin, which I wouldn't be against either. We've seen like in No Way Home that he was hinting at the fact that he was some form of sorcerer. I think they can integrate all that stuff. We know that Willem Dafoe's Goblin was in Spider-Man No Way Home, and he was able to build some of the technology that we saw before he was able to have his final battle with Peter on the Statue of Liberty and things of that nature. So Ned could come across like an old Goblin lair, like how who was it? James Franco? What was it? James Franco? Is that his name? James Franco did like in Spider-Man 2, and have him find that stuff. Maybe Peter, like being in possession of the symbiote, does something to Ned, which causes him to, you know, have a vendetta against Spider-Man. You know, we could start playing with things like that. The best Spider-Man stories are seeing the people that he loved turn against him and become antagonists within his villain gallery that he can't just up and destroy because he has some form of an emotional attachment to him. So let's see some of those things come into fruition too. But again, more villains that we haven't seen before. Give them more screen time for most of those villains. I'm all good and I'm all cool like with the whole Mutant Saga introduction thing. But now that we've got that out the way, we should be able to see other characters like the Fantastic Four, you know, within the next movie. Peter and the Human Torch are like best friends in the comics, so we can see some of that being integrated. We can even see Peter Parker go to the Fantastic Four's facility to have them check out the symbiote form. Now that all these characters are starting to interact in the same world, and more than likely this movie will come out after Avengers Secret Wars, which is going to serve as a reset for the entire MCU. Let's start seeing more of these characters that we're familiar with being introduced and supporting him with a supporting cast ensemble. And again, let's just set up the Sinister Six. Let's get those villains out there so we can get a proper Sinister Six movie. So If there's anything that I didn't mention that you guys wanted me to talk about within this video, just let me know in the comment section below. Again, thank you for having so much patience with me, y'all. I know I've been delayed, but of course, y'all know I got a lot of stuff going on in my life right now that I'm excited for. My baby's on the way and everything like that, but everything is looking cool. Again, thanks for watching, y'all. Y'all be safe, be blessed, and continue to be your best, and I'll holler at y'all later. Be safe. Peace.